Hi, this is Dr. Gregory Sadler. I'm a professor of philosophy and the president and founder of an educational consulting company called Reason.io, where we put philosophy into practice. I've studied and taught philosophy for over 20 years, and I find that many people run into difficulties reading classic philosophical texts. Sometimes it's the way things are said or how the text is structured. But the concepts themselves are not always that complicated, and that's where I come in. To help students and lifelong learners, I've been producing longer lecture videos and posting them to YouTube. Many viewers say they find them useful. What you're currently watching is part of a new series of shorter videos, each of them focused on one core concept from an important philosophical text. I hope you find it useful as well. Near the end of the section Present and Future in Simone de Beauvoir's Ethics of Ambiguity, in the third portion of the work, there's a very interesting and rather short discussion of the meaning of the festival and its relation to human existence. And there's a very nice formula that comes about halfway through it where she says, existence attempts in the festival to confirm itself positively as existence. And you might say, okay, well, that sounds great. What does that actually mean? So there's some technical terms there. She doesn't say existence attempts in the festival to confirm itself as being, as something that will remain the same over time. There's a dynamic nature to it that we're going to see. It can't be sustained indefinitely. And there's something special going on within the festival for existence, which is the human being existing, and not just existing as one individual, but in relation to other human beings, and indeed, in many cases, in a history, sometimes celebrating the end of a history or the revitalization of a history, but also outside of history for a certain space of time as well. So if we go back to the beginning of this section, she says that if it's true that human beings seek in the future a guarantee of their success and negation of their failures, that was what she'd been discussing before. It's also true, so now we're getting to the new point, that they feel the need of denying what she calls the indefinite flight of time. The fact that, we're always moving into the future. We're always leaving parts of ourselves behind in the past. And she says they feel the need of denying this and of holding the present in their hands. Existence must be asserted in the present, she says, if one does not want all life to be defined as an escape towards nothingness. And, she's talked about death in this section. Death might be viewed as nothingness, as meaninglessness for many of us, She's also said, listen, we don't know what the future actually holds. If we try to justify the present on the basis of some imaginary future, we're probably deceiving ourselves and doing injustice and untruth within the world. So, you want to assert existence in the time that you actually have so that it isn't just ebbing into nothingness. She goes on and she says, this is the reason why societies institute festivals. What is that reason? Their role is to stop the movement of transcendence, to set up the end as an end, to let you linger there, we might say, for a space of time. And she's going to give you an example, a historical example that's not that far away from the time that she's writing and something that she has experienced firsthand herself. She says the hours following the liberation of Paris, for example, were an immense collective festival. Now, the liberation of Paris from who? From the Nazis, who had been occupying it since the fall of France in 1940. So this was a deeply traumatic event for the French people. It entailed a lot of suffering and injustices being done. There was actually a risk that the Nazis, in leaving Paris, might follow Hitler's orders and destroy the entire city as sort of a type of revenge, but that didn't actually happen. So she says there was this immense collective festival doing what? Exalting the happy and absolute end of that particular history, which was precisely the occupation of Paris. Now, not all festivals are necessarily exalting the happy and absolute end of that absolute history. Some could actually be commemorating the loss that takes place, or a partial success, things along those lines. But there's something going on in a festival. There's a commemoration of an important event that changes things. And she says, there were people already saying, this isn't the end of things. You're happy now, but you're not going to be happy a day, a month from now. There were at the moment worried spirits who were surpassing the present towards future difficulties, engaging in what she's calling transcendence, right? Who refused to rejoice under the pretext new problems were going to come up immediately. And she said, actually, the people who did this were those who had a very slight wish to see the Germans defeated. Everybody who'd made this combat their combat, even if only by the sincerity of their hopes, regarded this victory as an absolute victory, whatever the future may be. Now, you could say, well, they were being unrealistic. They weren't thinking ahead. And she would say, yes, that's what we do in the festival. That's what we allow ourselves for a space of time, and that's important. She says, nobody was so naive as to not to know unhappiness would soon find other forms. But this particular unhappiness, that of the Nazi occupation, was wiped off the earth absolutely. And so she says, that's the modern meaning of the festival, private as well as public. Now notice that she uses these two terms. You can have a festival as big as an entire city, by proxy for a country. You can also have a festival that's private, just a few people together celebrating something, right? So, and everything in between, we might say. And this is where then she says existence attempts in the festival to confirm itself positively as existence. And then she brings up Georges Bataille, a French philosopher that, is also from Paris. And he talks a lot about festivals. And he says Bataille has shown that festivals are characterized by destruction. Why? The ethics of being is the ethics of saving. By storing up, one aims at the stationary plenitude, the fullness of the in itself. Existence, on the contrary, is consumption. It makes itself only by destroying, and in the festival, this negative movement is carried out to indicate its independence in relationship to the thing. So what do people do when they are celebrating like this? You eat, right? That's consuming. You drink. You get inebriated, right? What else? Lighting fires. Now, this could be like burning up stuff, but it could all just be, having a nice bonfire or something like that. Breaking things, spending time and money. You spend them not to get a return, but for nothing. And if somebody says, why did you do that? You might say, I'm just celebrating. It's part of the thing. And they'd be like, you're really stupid. Breaking those bottles over there. You could have turned them in for some recycling money and then bought some new bottles. And they say, well, that isn't the point of the festival, right? So that's one really important aspect of it. But there's more to the festival than just animal consumption. She goes on and she says, and this is also Bataille, the spending is also a matter of establishing what she calls communication of the existence. So that's the people that are celebrating. It is by the movement of recognition, which goes from one to the other, that existence is confirmed. This is a key idea. We realize ourselves in relation to other people in celebrating with them. It could be as simple as just a nod or a how you doing or smiling at them. But we are there together. Think about going to a concert and you're having such a great time and you turn and you look at the person next to you and they're having a great time too, and they look at you and they're like, yeah, man, this is awesome, right? That's that moment of recognition that she's talking about. So how do we do this concretely? Well, she mentions some things, right? Songs, singing together, laughter is a part of it, dancing, using our bodies in that way, eroticism, people like to get, busy and get laid, drunkenness. There's others as well. She says that you seek both an exaltation of the moment, but also a complicity with other people. You're not just drinking by yourself, you're drinking with other people, you're celebrating. And she says, now you can't do this permanently. A festival is not, we could say, indefinitely sustainable. She says the tension of existence, realized as this negativity of consumption, cannot maintain itself for long. It must immediately be engaged in a new undertaking. It has to dash off towards the future. The moment of detachment, the pure affirmation of the subjective present are only abstractions, and what we see is things get used up. The joy becomes exhausted, drunkenness subsides into fatigue, and one finds himself with his hands empty because you can never possess the present. And there's going to be some people who are like, man, where's the after party? Let's continue this. And everyone else is like, oh, I got to get back to work. I got to go home and take a nap, right? I think I've had enough. And then the festival comes to an end, right? And it has to. She says that because you can't possess the present, because you cannot make the festival go on forever, this is what gives festivals their pathetic and deceptive character. But we have something else that can come along and remedy that. She says that one of art's roles is to fix this passionate assertion of existence in a more durable way. The festival is at the origin of the theater. Historically, that's true, right? At least for Western tragedy and comedy. It was the Dionysian festival in Athens that leads to drama in the plays that we have. She goes on and says, it's the origin of music, the dance and poetry, and telling a story and depicting it. You make it exist in its particularity with its beginning and its end, its glory or its shame. And in this is the way it must actually be lived. So in the festival, in art, men express their need to feel that they exist absolutely. They must really fulfill this wish. But sooner or later, the ambiguity of existence reasserts itself. She says, as soon as they give the word end, its double meaning of both goal and fulfillment, they perceive the ambiguity of their situation. Every living moment is a sliding towards death, but every movement towards death is also life. So there's an ambiguity there. And she says, the present must die so that it may live. Existence must not deny this death which it carries in its heart. It must assert itself as an absolute in its very finiteness. We fulfill ourselves as transitory or not at all. We can't hold on to it forever. The person who wants to exist in the festival forever is looking for something that can't actually be realized. But that doesn't mean that the festival doesn't matter at all, or that you should, when the festival's going on, be one of those people who says, well, this is not what you're pretending it is. You're being, kind of a stick in the mud in that case, right? So a very interesting analysis here of the festival understood in an existential manner, using some interesting examples drawn from her own experience, and which I think we can, if we think our way through it, we can relate to quite a bit.